I need your help, Saints fans, and so does your team. Right now, we are $54 million over the cap. So every like that this video gets adds $100 to the Saints cap space. Not really, but just trying to have some fun. So hit the thumbs up icon and let's help the Saints clear up some cap space so we can be spenders and get back on top of the NFC South. This video has so much good news for the New Orleans Saints around the salary cap and around the finances of the future of the NFL, so we're not going to waste any time. Brett Kollman being the first to break all of this down. The salary cap is going to explode again. And you know why? It's those Nielsen ratings, because the television and you get so many new viewers, so many new eyes, so many new perspectives and fans of the National Football League. Not a Taylor Swift fan, but hey, you got to give her some credit. Put a lot of new eyeballs on the great sport of football. Kollman continuing to add, starting this year, the NFL, they're leaning into using data directly from the smart TV manufacturers to measure viewing habits in addition to the traditional at-home panel method, meaning all the smart TVs, all your Roku TVs, when you're tuning into YouTube TV on the app, you're going to actually get more of those ratings. So the increase of that being added to into the fold means there's an increase of viewers, which means there's an increase of money, which means Roger Goodell's a very happy camper. Kollman adding this. This means the NFL ratings, in particular from Sunday Ticket on YouTube, are going to be more accurately measured. And more accurately measured, meaning they're going to be a lot higher, in my opinion. And that number is going to be way bigger than you think because of just how many Gen Z and Millennials consume football on streaming services. Obviously, cable television, it is going out the window. Everybody's moving to apps. Everybody's moving to streaming services, whether it's YouTube TV, whether you're buying the Sunday Ticket package on the NFL app, whatever it is, people are moving away from traditional cable and, going to these platforms, which is a really big deal and a lot more money for these leagues, not just the NFL, but sports in general. It's a really good news if you're a player, because that means your pockets are going to get a little bit bigger. Now, this is where things get really interesting for the Saints. More accurate ratings means the league's next broadcast rights negotiation, which is in a few years, 28 and 29, it's going to be way more expensive, which ultimately means massive jumps in the salary cap. You have more expensive contracts, the league and the players, they get more money. If I'm a general manager, Brett Kollman saying, that means next year or maybe even this year, I can sign some truly outrageously backloaded deals with a ton of funny money that all slams home in 2030 and not even care about the math. Now, two things to note. One, the salary cap increases every single year. That is no mystery. The only time it really didn't was the 2020 year for obvious reasons due to the pandemic. The other thing to note, if any team is good at manipulating the cap space and any team is good at offering backloaded contracts to push the money way down the road, it's your favorite team, ladies and gentlemen, the New Orleans Saints. And Kai Harley is still in the building, and I hope at some point he can get a promotion to be the general manager. But getting back on track with the salary cap, you can look at the numbers every year since 2021. You've seen an increase. I mean, in 2021, obviously, you went down because the 2020 year. But in 2022, back up to 14%, 7%, 13.6%. And then this year, expected to be up to $272.5 million, maybe even then some. So, going back to what Brett Kollman was saying, 2028 and 2029 is when the salary cap would explode. And I do agree with him. If I'm a spender, if I'm somebody in the New Orleans Saints position, this is a prime opportunity to continue to kick the can down the road. As crazy as that sounds, the salary cap is going to increase. So if you just wait a little bit longer and maybe you're not as aggressive and as ridiculous with the contracts, but a little bit more conscious and a little bit cost efficient, I think you can actually get this under control while still being aggressive spenders in free agency. We're going to talk about why this is really good news for the New Orleans Saints in just a moment. Really quick, I got to encourage you, subscribe, because this is going to be the craziest New Orleans Saints offseason potentially ever. I mean, I've already said it multiple times. It's the biggest offseason in recent Saints history. Kellen Moore's already making a lot of changes, and I expect a lot more to come. So we're going to be covering every step along the way. Subscribe if you are a diehard Saints fan. Now, why is this great news for the New Orleans Saints? A new regime is taking over. Kellen Moore is the new head coach. You're seeing an entirely new coaching staff. No ties to the Sean Payton regime. No ties to the Drew Brees era. This is an entirely new team, an entirely new regime, at least from the coaching standpoint. And right now, if I'm Mickey Loomis, I give Kellen Moore pretty much complete control here. This is Kellen Moore's team. This is the Mickey Loomis trial with trying to continue on the Sean Payton era with Dennis Allen. That didn't work. So let Kellen Moore build things exactly the way he wants to. Let him get in the lab and create the roster and the coaching staff like he already has continued to do from the coaching standpoint. Let him continue to do that with the roster, and I think things might be able to work out. Maybe not immediately, but in the long haul, I think that's what we're trying to get to, at least what I want to get to. Number 2, this helps get this cap space under control. I mentioned it a little bit ago. You can honestly continue to kick the can down the road if you really wanted to. And, I'm going to get down to some more information about that in just 1 second. Really quick, I got to give a big time shout out to today's presenting sponsor. I know you guys saw this shirt. I've repped it so many times. It's because it's one of my favorite shirts I own. It's from Public Rec. It's not from some other bomb company. It is from the best clothing brand, and that is Public Rec. I absolutely love this shirt, and I know you guys will too. And we got a deal for you, Saints fans. If you support the show and if you use code CHAT20 when you go to publicrec.com, you'll get 20% off your entire order. Let's be real for a minute, fellas. Nobody's got time for stiff, uncomfortable clothes anymore. You know what I mean? It's February. It's cold outside. It's literally snowing and flurrying here out in Dallas. But I'm warm and toasty, and I'm very, very comfortable because I'm rocking Public Rec. It's not just about pants. They have so many great style options, whether you're working all day in the office, you're running errands, or you're just grabbing a drink with the lads. Who doesn't want to look sharp without sacrificing comfort? And I'll tell you what, once you put on your Public Rec clothing, you're going to wonder why you ever wore anything else. I've worn so many different brands. I've liked a lot of different clothing options. And I'll tell you what, as a guy who has a little bit of a dad bod and who's a little bit of self-conscious about what clothes I put on, Public Rec not only makes me feel confident, it makes me feel comfortable, and I absolutely love it. It's stretchy, it's soft, you got the hood, you can stay warm and toasty. You also have other options like these polos. They got great pants. I'll tell you what, the Daymaker pants, unbelievable. They're so comfortable and they look really, really good. I mean, goodness gracious, that's a good-looking set of trousers right there. So this February, I highly encourage you to stop settling for the same old stuff and get started with Public Rec. Set up your comfort game with Public Rec, and it's about time you treat yourself. For a limited time, our listeners get 20% off your entire order with code CHAT20 at publicrec.com. That's code CHAT20, CHAT20 at publicrec.com. All that information is in the comment section and description of this video. Now, why is this good news for the New Orleans Saints? We're going to go back to how it helps get the cap under control, because when the New Orleans Saints right now, you are $54.1 million over the cap, and that is coming from overthecap.com. Spotrac has it a little bit differently. Spotrac has it at $51.1 million, so somewhere around that 52, 54-ish million dollars is They're over the cap by over $50 million. That's what you need to know. But in 2026, you do have some money to spend. In 2027, that's when the salary cap is really reset for you, assuming you don't push down contracts, assuming you don't restructure and continue to kick the can down the road. But remember, 2028, 2029 is when the big boom happens. So if you want to take care of the cap situation now and, hopefully not push off too much money into the future, you can do a couple of things. So Cam Jordan, if he retires, you save $11 million. I don't think that's going to be in the cards for Cam. I could see them maybe having a new contract. I'm not totally sure what's going to happen here, but $11 million is $11 million worth saving. $30 million if you restructure or make Derek Carr a post-June 1 cut. If you restructure Eric McCoy, you save about $6.7 million. And then if you make Taysom Hill a post-June 1 trade, the only team that would be interested in this, by the way, is the Denver Broncos, $10.3 million. So right here, if you do just these 4 moves, you can save $58 million. And remember, you're $54.1 million over the cap, meaning you have money to spend just through 4 moves. So I know it's a lot of money to clear up, but it's not as complicated and it's not as difficult as you think it is. That being said, if you restructure, if you do certain things, you push money elsewhere, you have dead money here, you have void years there, it's just a whole thing. So, I mean, to be totally honest, it's a very complicated thing. I'm not the best with the numbers. I'm trying to learn it more, and, I can just tell you one thing. I'm tired of the Saints being broke. I'm tired of not having money to spend in free agency. I'm tired of not being able to go and add playmakers at the trade deadline. So if you're with me, if you're tired of running on empty, hit the thumbs up icon and like this video. Now, another reason why the cap space exploding in a few years is a great news for New Orleans. Mickey Loomis, just like this dog, he's on a short, leash, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think that Mickey Loomis has a lot of great graces left with Saints fans, and there's no question about it. The Who Dat Nation is fed up with the current general manager. It's no mystery. When you're missing on draft picks, when you're spending bad money, when you're making bad hires, and you're not making the playoffs, people aren't happy. Oh, and not to mention, the price of season tickets is increasing when you're winning 5 games. Not very good look. And I know not all of that falls on Mickey Loomis' shoulders, but a good amount of it does, at least from an operational standpoint. So when it comes to this season and when it comes to the next few years, Mickey, if you want to keep your job, the one piece of advice I can give you, stay out of Kellen Moore's way. Let Kellen Moore do this thing. This is your last opportunity to buy some more years with the New Orleans Saints, at least as the general manager and running the ship. I mean, like if Mickey Loomis wants to continue to be the GM, he's going to have to win over the fan base. I mean, ultimately, the fans are the ones who put butts in seats. The fans are the ones that are buying the merch. The fans are the ones that are buying the tickets. The fans are the ones that are buying concessions. The fans are the ones that are tuning into TV. If you're not giving the fans a product that they want to, indulge in, what's the point? Fans are going to start tuning out. I mean, just a couple years ago, the Detroit Lions had more fans in your own stadium. You got to look in the mirror, Mickey. Like, you got to stay out of Kellen Moore's way and let him build this thing from the ground up, because I believe that he can truly build something good here. And to be totally honest, this better work. I don't think it has to work immediately. I don't think you have to be competing for the NFC Championship next year. But I do think you need to show progress. I think you need to see development with the rookies. Because otherwise, Mickey Loomis' seat gets red hot. And when his seat gets red hot, changes will be made. Gail Benson has already done it once with the head coach. I don't think she'll have any hesitation to do it with the GM if things get absolutely red hot here. Now, the last thing here, they can be aggressive spenders. I know that this is just basically going back to the kick the can down the road conversation. But at the end of the day, like, let's just go back a couple of years. We weren't really complaining about it. No, everyone was criticizing it because the Saints were winning and they were cheating the cap space. I mean, to be totally honest, if you're winning football games, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares whether or not you're $50 million over the cap next year. When you're winning football games, people like to tune into that. People like to see you be aggressive because that means you're successful. That means you're competing. That means you're making the playoffs, hopefully competing for a Super Bowl. So when it comes down to this year, there's some big needs. And it's not just these 8. There's so many more, but the 8 biggest needs, in my opinion, are on screen. I think quarterback, you don't really have a true future. You don't know what you got in Spencer Rattler, truly. Jake Haener ain't it. Derek Carr is not going to be a part of the long-term future here. So maybe you draft somebody. Maybe you sign somebody. Maybe this is something, a conversation revisit in a couple of years. But everything on screen right now, in my opinion, is a need. And you're not going to be able to fill every single one of these needs with a positional or with a player that's going to take that position to the next level in one offseason. The Saints have to start building through the draft, and they have to start hitting on these picks. Quite frankly, too many years have we seen draft picks not hit, and we've seen draft picks fail, and we've seen them reach bust status. We've passed on great opportunities to draft a Marcus Davenport. I'm tired of that. You got to start hitting on picks. But that being said, free agency is just as important. You can't give out stupid contracts. You can't give out way too expensive and way too long of deals to players who don't deserve that kind of money. You can't set yourself up for more failure in the future. You have to give contracts to free agents that are fair to both sides. Give a player a respectable contract, says we appreciate you and we want you in New Orleans, but don't break the bank on a guy who's 35 years old and declining in production. That's just the tail of the tail with the New Orleans Saints, it feels like right now. So, I think they need to be aggressive, but I don't know how aggressive they will be. So I'm going to ask you this question. How aggressive will the Saints be this offseason in terms of free agency, trades, at the draft, everything? Scale it from you 1 to 10. 1, not going to do a thing. 10, they're going to be calling every single line across the National Football League. Saints fans, we'll be live later on this afternoon. I hope to see you guys there. Y'all stay golden, and we'll see you later.